So about 5 years ago, I started my filmmaking journey. And during the course of the past 5 years, I've joined a lot of online communities talking about filmmaking, editing, and other things. And one question that I've consistently seen across these different communities from people just starting their filmmaking journey is, can I learn on YouTube? Can I learn online? Do I need to go to school? I mean, you could do whatever you want. You can learn how you want to learn, and you can be successful doing it that way. But I thought, as a person who learned filmmaking on YouTube, that I would lay out the positives and negatives of learning on YouTube so that you can make a decision for yourself if you're just getting started. So let's start with the pros. Now, the biggest benefit of learning online is convenience. Learning online gives you the ability to learn at your leisure, to learn at your own pace, to even choose your instructor. If you're a person with a busy schedule, you don't have to worry about making time to, be in class at a certain time. You can start class basically whenever you want because class is literally on you. You also have the ability to rewatch things over and over again if you don't understand something, if you just need to take it point by point. I say choosing your instructor because there are so many how-to videos on YouTube. I don't care what you're trying to learn how to do. You can literally figure out how to do anything. I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone teaching you how to do surgery on the internet. I'm not gonna hire you, but you probably could learn that on the internet some way, somehow. But you literally can filter through different people, different channels, and learn from the people who kind of make things easy for you to understand. You also have the ability to learn what you're interested in. A lot of times when you take a traditional college course, you have to take all these other courses that go with it. For example, your core classes. When you learn on YouTube, you literally can learn what you want. If you're looking to do short films, you can just look for information on short films. You don't have to learn how to shoot a podcast. That's the beauty of learning on the internet. The other convenient part is just less pressure. When I was going to school getting my degree, one of the things that I hated about school is having to take tests, having to turn in papers, the pressure of on this day at this time, this thing is due, and you just having to do that. But when you're online, again, you're learning at your own leisure. You're doing as much as you want to. You're basically putting in what you want to get out of it. Another pro is how cost efficient and budget friendly it is learning things on YouTube. So this is pretty obvious. I mean, YouTube is free. You literally have access to free content and you can watch it as much as you want. And even if you do opt to sign up for some of these courses that some filmmakers have, they're gonna be significantly cheaper than it would be going to a traditional college. I know they have full courses that teach you everything from exposure to lighting and audio and all that stuff just for a few $100. Whereas if you go to a traditional college, you're probably gonna spend a few $100 per credit. And usually college courses come, I think, 3 credits at a time. So you do the math, you're spending significantly more money to learn. Another pro that I don't think a lot of people think about is the connections you can make. You can learn from people all over the world or in other states, and it's just super convenient and cool that you can have a conversation or ask a question to someone who's thousands of miles away and learn from them. A good way to do this is to join a lot of filmmaking communities. I've learned so much in these communities, and this also gives you the benefit to be able to network. Maybe you run into someone who's not too far from you. There's sometimes people who need an extra hand on a shoot, so this gives you the opportunity to kind of connect with people and work with them. So networking is a huge benefit of learning online. Learning on YouTube also helps you develop certain skill sets that you might not develop in the classroom. For example, self-discipline and self-motivation. If you're gonna learn online, if you're gonna learn on YouTube, it's gonna take a lot of self-discipline to learn because no one's making you do anything. There's no test, there's nothing to be turned in. You haven't spent any money. So literally you're just investing your time and you're investing as much time as you want. Another important part of that is when you learn something, you have to go do it. So if someone's teaching you how to set exposure on a camera, then you have to go out with your camera and practice setting your exposure and getting good shots. I think that you're always going to learn more by doing. All right, so those are the pros. Now let's talk about the cons. So we were just talking about how you can develop self-discipline. Well, that can actually be a con too, because if you don't have good self-discipline, then basically learning on YouTube or learning online isn't gonna work for you. Instead of laying down to watch Netflix, I mean, you might have to watch hours and hours of content to learn something. And if you're not willing to do that, well, then learning online really isn't gonna help. In this case, learning in a traditional classroom setting might help you because then you don't need as much self-discipline. You've paid all this money for a course. You know that you have class on Friday at 3 o'clock. So you're gonna be there and you're gonna sit there for 3 hours and learn whatever the professor's teaching you versus you having to make yourself learn. Another big con is misinformation or even learning other people's bad habits. I mean, everybody's trying to be YouTube famous or YouTube relevant, whatever relevancy on YouTube means. The point is, a lot of people are just out here trying to get views on a video. So sometimes they don't even know what they're talking about. They're just saying something that they heard someone else said, or they're just giving you bad information that may not be correct. Now, one way to combat this is to watch a lot of different videos, basically have a lot of different sources of information. Another thing that'll help is actually going out and filming, because then you'll learn things that people are telling you to do sometimes don't work in the real world. This brings me to the next con, which is there's no structure when you're learning online. Basically, learning things out of order. When you're learning in a classroom setting, someone's gonna set a curriculum out, and they're gonna put things in order, versus when you're learning on YouTube, you're kind of relying on yourself to learn things at a certain pace. And if you don't know what you're learning, you really don't know that you're learning things out of order. That's why sometimes a good in the middle option is, instead of just learning on YouTube or taking a college course, is taking a cheaper filmmaking course by a lot of people. Like there's Parker Walbeck, who has Full-Time Filmmaker, and there's other creators that I can't even think of right now, but there's options to take these courses that are significantly cheaper than college, but they're gonna give you structure and they're gonna give you good information. Another drawback is the inability to ask questions. Now, you can ask questions in the comment section, but that doesn't guarantee that you're always gonna get an answer from the actual person that you're trying to ask the question from. When you are listening and learning from someone you trust, you really don't have 100% access to that person, unless that's like something they offer on Patreon or something, but you know what I'm trying to say. This also includes feedback on things that you might have shot. If you shot something and you want someone to check it out and tell you where you can fix things or where you made mistakes, it's really hard to find people who are willing to do that, or people who are willing to do that honestly, versus in class, that's what the instructor is hired to do. Now, the one thing that I'm jealous of is when you take a college course, a lot of times that gives you access to equipment. A lot of these schools have budgets, they have video departments and things that you're allowed to play with, you know, for assignments and things like that. But if you're not taking a college course, it's kind of up to you to buy your own equipment to learn on. Now, one thing I liked about being in college is kind of making those connections in person. When you're learning on YouTube, you're unable to build those interpersonal skills and kind of get to know people one-on-one. So it's cool to be a part of the communities and ask questions and learn from people, but you miss out on that face-to-face interaction with people and kind of building those relationships. Now, the last con that I have is that basically what I've been saying the whole time, it just takes more work. When I first started learning on YouTube, I had to become, you know, almost obsessed with just watching YouTube videos. I'm talking about watching them everywhere, on lunch breaks, in the car, when I'm on the toilet, you know what I'm saying, before I go to bed. You have to really put in a lot of time in order to learn things. And not only just time learning and listening to people, but you have to put in a lot of time in actual practice. You have to put in your own work. And if you're not disciplined enough, or if you're not willing to put in the work without someone telling you that you have to do this and you have to do that, then ultimately you're not gonna get the results that you want out of becoming a filmmaker. So in closing, if you're gonna learn on YouTube, my advice to you is to make sure you watch a lot of content from a lot of different people. That way you're getting a well-rounded understanding on a certain subject matter. One of the things that also helped me is making a playlist for different areas that you're trying to learn. Making a playlist for lighting, a separate one for audio, a separate one for composition, and things like that. That way, you're kind of building a library of resources to learn from and things that you can go back to without having to search over and over again. Make sure you're doing your best to learn the basics and staying away from the flashy things in the beginning. Look for things that are teaching you how to set your exposure, who are teaching you how to set your white balance, who are teaching you where to set up lights properly, and stop focusing on crazy flashy transitions and things like that. Those things will come. Another good thing to do is, in addition to watching a bunch of videos, is to read. Reading articles, reading books will help you learn things. It's another way to learn, and sometimes a lot of people retain more information when they read. And most importantly, you're going to learn by doing. Don't just watch videos, don't just read articles. Pick up the camera, go out and shoot something. Create something, make mistakes, learn from them, and then go back to creating something. So hopefully this video helped you one way or another, no matter if that's deciding a specific way you want to learn, or maybe you just learned from some of the advice I gave on how to learn on YouTube. Either way, I thank you for watching. Let me know down below if you're someone who's learning on YouTube, if you're learning from your favorite content creator, or if you went to traditional route. I think it'll be a good conversation to have. Other than that, I will see you in the next video, because my wife just finished making dinner and it's time to eat. Peace.